9:24 and I'm out in the studio working. This is progress. Although I'm only going to get half a day in today because once I've got all the videos and stuff done, firstly I need to tidy this horrific mess that has developed over the last couple of months. I know, but in my defence, the stuff on the floor was soundproofing, so I need to get carpet down if I get that up. But once that's done, we've got Sky Q being installed this afternoon, which is going to be one box in the house, one box out here, so I can have Sky Sports on this TV, which will be awesome. And again, those of you who worry about finances and stuff like that, what's going on with my moustache? What's this? Why is there a gap? Those of you who worry about our finances, worry not. This is one of those deals for loyalty thing where it's not actually costing us anything to do. So that's a bonus. I'm like a video and a half down, but I was had a very weird message from Anna, which it's a strange thing. I can't show you because it's got my address on. I think someone might have guessed my address. It just says Boss Chapman on it. I need to work out what this is. 1 second. Okay, this is getting weird now because it's a card from Kevin Thompson. Those of you who don't watch my Football Manager videos might not know that Kevin Thompson doesn't exist. Kevin Thompson is a regen goalkeeper from my Football Manager save. It's a new job card. It says, "Boss, all the best in your new-ish job working at YouTube." Big Kev, we need to have a word about what I actually do. Don't forget, I'm just a coaching badge away from that assistant manager role you promised. In goalkeeping, Big Kev, Kev Thompson. And then it's signed Kev1. You lot are so weird. But that's really awesome. That's going on the wall next to the broken drone propeller. Back to work then. That's just so weird. That came to my actual address. That's not come through the PO box. I have a short list of people I suspect might be Kevin Thompson. But now that I know whoever it is has my actual home address, that narrows it down a little further. The investigation has begun. I need to work out who Kevin Thompson is. 2 videos made for the gaming channel before 11 o'clock. That is progress, and also I've bought a game. That is going to be on the gaming channel this week in the same way as we did the series with I can't remember what it was called, that weird game that we did over like 3 or 4 parts over the course of a week a couple of months back. Similar kind of game. It's called Tahoma. Pab talked about it on MGP this week. If you haven't listened to this week's MGP, check it out. But it's by the people who made Gone Home. Gone Home was awesome. It's another similar sort of story-based walking about simulator type thing, but this time set in space. It sounds awesome. It's only about a 3 or 4 hour game, so I reckon I can get it done over the course of this week and just release an episode a day of that, and that should be really cool. I love games like that. So that's progress as well. We've got the dog hair cutting man is coming after the Sky engineer later to cut Dave's hair. So we've got Sky Q coming in between 1 and 3. Dave's getting his hair cut at 3:30. We're getting ever closer to being able to take him on holiday with us at the end of the week. All of which means I can't procrastinate any longer. I need to sort out the studio because for no other reason I need to find Dave's cage and make sure it fits in the back of the new car because we haven't had him in the car since we've had it. And if the cage doesn't fit, I either need to find a new cage or work out another way to transport Dave from here to Sandringham at the weekend. We'll figure something out. Ugh, what a horrible pile of junk. Okay, so it's not as tidy as I would want it to be because the Skyman's going to be here in an hour, so I haven't got time to go to the tip and get rid of all the boxes that we've accumulated the last couple of months. But importantly, this area of floor is clear and there's a space on the table near the TV where the Sky Q box can go, so he can now arrive. We can get Sky in here, and then later in the week, tomorrow realistically, we're going to clear this area. I have a harebrained scheme at the moment that I'm going to move the whole of the desk studio space about a foot that way and then use this, which is a bracket to put a bike in so that it works as a stationary bike, and then bring that and put it on this bit of floor here so that I can cycle whilst, I don't know, playing FIFA on the Xbox or watching football on the telly or something, just to give me a way to exercise in here as well. That's my plan at the moment. I don't know if I'm actually going to get that far because I also need to find somewhere where I can get old carpet tiles for the floor. The floor is just a dusty mess. It makes everything untidy and also really bounces the sound back off awfully. So if anyone knows where you can get cheap carpet tiles that I can just glue down to the floor, or a big piece of cheap carpet. It doesn't even necessarily have to be new carpet tiles. If there's a place where I can get like second-hand carpet tiles from an old office building or something, just to put on the floor in here, that would be great. And then the one other thing I need to get it finished is some kind of soundproofing for the wall. I'm thinking curtains. We've talked about curtains before. Where do you buy cheap curtains from? And I also need to secure the garage door properly, which is going to be a job for when we get back from holiday. Don't worry, there'll be nothing in here while we're on holiday, but that'll be to secure the garage at that end. And then we get the bookcases in, and slowly but surely we start to move this towards the kind of studio it was always supposed to be. We're getting there. Skyman's bin. We have all the fancy Sky Q stuff in the house, but most importantly of all, I have Sky out here. I've got Sky Sports News on. It is just an advert for a cardio blast at the moment, but I assure you, I can now watch Sky Sports News out here while I'm working. Efficiency just picked up. The next job we've got for today is this hairy beast that's down on the floor. Dave, come here. Dave is getting a haircut and a bath. The next time you see this animal, he will be clean shaven and he won't smell like old dog. And that's going to be awesome. It's like the whole of today's vlog is about no light. Hold on, spin us around that way. Dave's having his haircut now. The dog cut man is out there. He's not happy about it, but he's going to look like a different animal when he's done. As promised, one largely hairless beast. Dave, sit still. Dave. Do you reckon that man can come and do the grass as well? The important thing is, he's had a nice haircut and he seems to like it. So, should be less dog hair everywhere now and a more comfortable beast. Everybody wins. Today's vlog everyday in August topic was what is the best book you've ever read? Hold on, let me get the exact wording for you. What is my favourite book that I've ever read? And I'm going to cheat and do two, because the first one, the most important book I've ever read, I've talked about on the vlog fairly recently, The 4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Literally life-changing. If you didn't read it the last time I recommended it, go read it now. There was a little bit of backlash in the comments last time, presumably from people who haven't read the book, because it's nothing to do with, despite the clickbaity title, clickbait before clickbait was a thing, it's not about trying to condense all of your weekly work into 4 hours. It's about the concept and the idea and the principle of doing the work that's needed to be done to live the life that you want to lead. And I've kind of based the whole of the last 5 or 6 years of my life, ever since I first read this book, has all been based around that. Get jobs that teach you skills you need to learn. Don't work for money, work for skills and experience. And constantly have some kind of side hustle going on, something that you love, something that you do even if you weren't getting paid for it. But get paid for it and find a way to eventually transition into that being your main gig. I've lived my entire life by it. I continue to live my life by it, and it's done okay for me so far. This is a clip that you can take out and throw in my face in 3 or 4 months' time when I'm going back to teaching with my tail between my legs because I didn't earn enough money from this self-employed thing. But it is important. If you haven't read it, just read it. It's like £6 on Amazon. But because I've talked about that one recently, I thought I'd also do another book that was almost as life-changing. There you go, Watchmen. I don't mean to be cliche by showing you, everyone says it's the best graphic novel ever written. Yeah, but the thing is, until I read this, I'd never read a graphic novel or any kind of comic as an adult. I used to read comics as a kid, but mainly it was like the British comics, the Beano and the Dandy and stuff like that. I had maybe a few Spider-Man comics and a few Batman comics lying around, but never enough to put a coherent story together. Didn't really understand what was going on. Loved the cartoons, really loved the X-Men cartoon and the Batman animated series. They were at their height when I was at the right kind of age, but as I got into early adulthood, I kind of drifted away from it all, along with all of the other things that I really love about life at the moment. Video games, drifted away from. Wrestling, drifted away from. And comics and superheroes and things like that, I drifted away from. And it was probably 6 or 7 years ago now. It wasn't this list, it wasn't the Time magazine's 100 best novels list, but there was a list somewhere of like 50 books or 100 books to read before you die, and I guess I was just flicking through the list. I feel like it was when I got my first Kindle, but I don't know if that matches up on the timeline. When did Kindles become a thing? Does that work out at 6 or 7 years ago? It might have been a list on Amazon of the top 50 books to read before you die or something like that. And this was on it. And it's a comic, and I'd never heard of it, despite the fact the movie had been out like a year earlier, which I have since seen, and I thought it was okay, but not as life-changing, as impactful as this was, because I thought, I don't understand how a comic can be on a list of the top 50 books to read before you die, a list that's aimed at grown-ups. I don't understand. What's that all about? So I bought it. I bought this exact copy. I took it on holiday with me that summer. I read it in about a day. It wasn't a fun day for anyone else who was on holiday with me, because I just literally sat and read through this book. And then I read it again, and I was absolutely blown away. Within a year, I'd started to build a little collection of graphic novels and had started discovering DC, starting with Batman. I think the first Batman I bought was Nightfall, bought the big 3 massive trades of that, and just gradually working into DC. Then the Marvel movies became massively mainstream and I started dipping into Marvel as well, and then it got a little bit further and I discovered Image and indie comics, and here we are today, like 6 or 7 years after discovering this book for the first time as a 35-year-old man, and the highlight of my year is going to Comic-Con. I've got hundreds, if not thousands of comics now. I've probably got maybe 2,000 single issues of comics that live on my iPad, as well as loads of trades and collections and graphic novels on there, plus an entire bookcase full of graphic novels, trade paperbacks, and pop vinyls of comic book characters, along with the comeback of wrestling and video games into my life. Around about the time I had my quarter-life crisis and ended up not being married anymore and rediscovering all these things that I absolutely loved as a kid and kind of drifted away from me as I became a proper grown-up, probably a little bit too soon when I was in my late teens. I just can't emphasise enough how much enjoyment reading this one book has added to my life in the 6 or 7 years since. And it's not even necessarily about the book. It's still a really good story. It's not the best graphic novel ever written. That's a story for another day. But as far as importance into shaping my life into what it is now, if I hadn't have read this book 6 or 7 years ago, I would not be talking to you now. I'm absolutely certain of that, and because of that, it's probably even more important than the 4-hour work week. Right, we'll leave it there on today's vlog. If you've enjoyed that video, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. And thank you very much for watching.